What up, what up, what up? It's a brand new Saturday, brand new episode of the Mott's West podcast. I'm your host, of course, Mott. What up, y'all? Just getting right into it. On the radio show I listen to, ESPN LA, the station, I should say, they had a question about movies, scary movies, and the question was, what scary movie still scares you to this day? And I, for years, have had one definitive answer and one definitive answer only, and that is the movie Fire in the Sky. I believe it was released in the 1990s. It was based on a true story about this group of loggers that are working in the woods, and they come across a UFO, and one of them gets kidnapped and goes missing for 5 days, and he shows up later, 5 days later, of course. And meanwhile, his group, his coworkers, they were all being questioned and watched and everything, and they were almost about to be put on trial for the murder of this guy. And then he shows up outside of town, 5 days later. And the true story on that was that they actually all took lie detector tests, and they all passed the lie detector test, including the guy that got abducted. So that still freaks me out because that says, hey, aliens are real and they're here among us. But that's not news. But let's get to the big news.
The big story of the week was this.
Okay, Impact Wrestling actually had its pay-per-view last Saturday. It was Slammiversary. And so some news is coming out of there, but let me just run down the results really quick. You had some title changes, a lot of title changes. So you had Leo Rush defeating Chris Sabin to become the new X Division Championship. Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich defeated the Coven to become the new Knockouts Tag Team Champions. You had Trinity defeating Deonna Purrazzo to become the new Knockouts Champion. Subculture actually won a Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match to become the new Tag Team Champions. The former champions, ABC, Bullet Club, Chris Bay and Ace Austin actually were distracted from the match by the Rascals, who came down and interfered in the match, and there'll be more on that later. So, Subculture, again, your new Impact Tag Team Champions. But the one title that didn't change hands was the Impact World title. Alex Shelley did defend against Nick Aldis, and there's some stuff there. So and there's other matches that I didn't mention, but we'll get to later. So with that, there's some news of people possibly leaving their companies. Among them, who I just mentioned, Nick Aldis, who used to be Magnus in Impact Wrestling when it was TNA, NWA. It's reported that the WWE is interested in him, and also another guy on the Impact roster, Ziggy Dice. Ziggy has been doing this kind of thing with his partner, I guess, Johnny Swinger, who's kind of like a throwback character to like the early '80s wrestlers that are like, yeah, man, hey, bro, and all this stuff, hey, brother. So I guess they got into it because their thing was Johnny Swinger he cannot win a match to save his life. So he tried everything, tried to get Ziggy to become a referee so he can fix matches and everything, and it just wasn't working out. Finally, Swinger had it up to here with Ziggy Dice. So next week on Impact, they're having a loser leaves Impact match, which goes along with a lot of the rumors that Ziggy Dice is going to be leaving Impact and maybe going to WWE or somewhere else. Let's see, the Elite. I'll get into that. The Elite Wednesday faced the BCC with Kenosha Takeshita and Pac in a blood and guts match, which is kind of like the old War Game style match with the two rings and the cage over it. And the rumor has it that Kota Ibushi, who was part of that match, has no intent to sign an AEW contract. But in a recent interview, it was said by Kenny Omega, I believe, that Ibushi is going to continue traveling with the Elite as part of the Elite and make appearances as part of the Elite. So there's rumors flying that Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and possibly Hangman will be leaving AEW. So that's something to keep an eye on. Also, a couple returns during Slammiversary. This is a lot. You had Eric Young coming back finally from, well, he wasn't really gone from Impact per se. He was just the leader of Violent by Design, and he got kicked out of the group by the new leader, Diener. And I'll have more on that during the Impact part of it, of Living Their Best Week. You had Jake Something, Diener's old cousin, actually. He played a Big Diener, I guess, but now he's Jake Diener. So now he's come back. You had the former Impact World Champion, Josh Alexander, the Walking Weapon, return at the closeout of Slammiversary. And if you remember, Josh Alexander was supposed to be Impact Wrestling's answer to Roman Reigns, only in a good guy form. And he actually got injured and had to vacate the title, which was afterwards won by Steve Maclin. And Alex Shelley actually was able to beat Maclin for the title. We'll get into that during talking about Impact. So that's your news, and that was a lot going on this week, but only one show can be living its best week. All right, so y'all know that there's wrestling on Saturday through Saturday now, with the new show added, Collision. So we're going to go Saturday through Friday, and I'm just going to give you just the main event, which is the end of the show for the most part all the time. And that's really what you need to know if you watch wrestling. If you want to know the main storyline, just skip to the end of the show with the main event match, and that's going to tell you what the overall theme of the company is. So, for example, we have... Okay, so Monday Night Raw, the plot kind of starts toward the beginning. So Rhea Ripley's part of the Judgment Day. She's the women's champion on Raw. And she's kind of been looking for competition because she's basically as big or tall and as strong as a man. So she really doesn't have any competition on Raw except for Raquel Rodriguez, who is just as big and buff as Rhea Ripley is. And so early in the night, Rhea Ripley goes up to Raquel, who is one half of the women's tag team champions with Liv Morgan, and says, "Hey, Raquel, you haven't mentioned me in the list of, competitors who are gunning for your tag team titles." And Raquel says, "Well, you don't have a partner." And she kind of says, "Well, Liv doesn't either," and proceeds to attack Raquel Rodriguez, and in the process injures her, which later on that night, coincidentally, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez had a women's tag team title defense against Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville, and because Raquel was injured, that was the weakness that Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville zoned in on, and they were able to become the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. That's going to carry over until later in the night. So later in the night, Rhea Ripley's partners, Dom and Damian Priest, had a title defense, or had a title shot against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And Rhea Ripley, of course, came down with Dominic Mysterio. And she tried to, interfere in the match and try to cause distractions. But then out comes Liv Morgan, who was PO'd about Rhea injuring her tag team partner and them losing the belts earlier in the night. Came out and basically attacked Liv Morgan, or attacked Rhea Ripley, which was enough of a distraction to get Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens the win over Dom and Priest. So that was the main event of Raw. Now, normally, we don't talk about Tuesday because it's NXT, it's the rookies. But we've got to talk about it because, like I was just talking about, the Judgment Day, they're making waves, okay? So Dominic went to go try and win the North American title from the NXT champion, Wes Lee, who was formerly Des Xavier, part of the Rascals, who I talked about, part of Impact. I mean, there's just a chain of stuff going on. I won't go over, who's tied to who or whatnot, but so basically it was Wes Lee defending his North American NXT title versus Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio won with help from Rhea, of course, and he is now the new technically it's the NXT North American Championship, but since he's not on NXT, is it just now just the North American Championship? Who knows? So that was Tuesday. Now Wednesday, we go to Alright, AEW Dynamite. Here we are. Blood and guts. What I talked about. The Elite, or the Golden Elite with Kota Ibushi, would fight in the Blood and Guts match. The Blackpool Combat Club with Kinoshita Takeshita. I'm just going to call him Takeshita because in Japan that's what you use. Takeshita and Pac. And so the Elite ended up gaining the upper hand because Claudio Castagnoli of the BCC kept missing his mark and hitting Pac. Pac got tired of it, so he flipped him off, got some bolt cutters, cut the lock off the door, flipped him off again, and left. Now that led to actually Pac getting a title shot versus Claudio's ROH World Championship soon. But we don't kind of talk about that because that's not one of the main shows. So now it was a 4-on-5 match. And afterwards, the Elite started cooking because they had the numbers game. And it wasn't soon after that Don Callis pulled Takeshita out because Takeshita is technically not a part of the BCC. He's part of the Don Callis family, which right now he's the only member. But so Don Callis and Takeshita never said they were with the BCC. They just kind of had the same enemy in mind. Now it's 5-on-3. And they handcuffed Jon Moxley, knocked out Claudio, and they were about to, the Elite, they said they never wanted to have to go back to that level that they were when they were in Bullet Club, but they went there. They were literally going to kill this man with a fork, a chain, and a screwdriver. And Jon Moxley, who is the hardest core of hardcore wrestlers, had to throw in the towel. He submitted to save Wheeler because the Elite, he knew the Elite were going to literally try to kill Wheeler Yuta in Blood and Guts. Also that night, earlier in the match, you had the finals in the blind tag team title eliminator match. MJF and Adam Cole, Better Than You, baby, got the win over Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara, so they will face FTR in a title match on the July 29th episode of Collision, which should be pretty cool to watch because I didn't start out with Collision. Oh, I totally blew that one. Well, at least it doubled back. So FTR is actually coming off of successfully defending their titles last Saturday on Collision against Bullet Club Gold, Switchblade, Jay White, and Rock Hard Juice Robinson in a 2-out-of-3 falls match. And I hate that I missed that because that was a sneaky classic match. That was a great match. 2-out-of-3 falls. And even afterwards, Bullet Club was about to maybe have a change of heart and shake hands because they handed FTR their belts. Like, hey, you guys won fair and square. There was really no cheating. The Guns, who are now part of Bullet Club Gold, were banned from ringside. They did not come at all. It was a straight up, no rules broken, tag team 2-out-of-3 falls match. So sorry, Collision, I totally disrespected you. And just notable mention, Ricky Starks and Willow Nightingale both won the male and female Owen Hart tournament on that episode of Collision. So now we go to Impact Wrestling. Again, the aftermath of Slammiversary. So during Slammiversary, I told you, or my breakdown, I told you there was a match or two that I missed. One match was the tag team match between Scott D'Amore and PCO versus Bully Ray and Steve Maclin. Well, that match got changed around because Steve Maclin got injured, and so they on-screen, or Steve Maclin was injured in real life, and so they kind of on-screen eliminated PCO. So that changed up. So Steve Maclin was out. Cody Deaner, the leader of Violent by Design, was in. And so Scott D'Amore brought back his old Team Canada partner, Eric Young. Eric Young is back in his old Canada getup. And they were able to defeat Bully Ray and Deaner. And Scott D'Amore, this Thursday, is now back and fully reinstated as Impact President. Yeah! So, the end of the show wasn't really a main event match. It was actually Josh Alexander getting the opportunity to speak on the mic and address the crowd. And he wanted to talk to Alex Shelley because, of course, he wants a shot at his Impact title that he never lost. And, of course, Alex Shelley, being the good guy that he is, not only was going to give him the match, but he wanted to prove himself that he could beat Josh Alexander because he fought Josh Alexander for the title right before he got injured, and he lost. So he wants to prove to himself that he could actually beat Josh Alexander. So before they can actually make the match official, now you're going to have to follow me on this because this one kind of gets entangled. Lio Rush comes out, the new X Division champion, and says, hey, not so fast with y'all's match. This X Division championship allows me to invoke Option C. Now, for those of you that don't know what Option C is, basically in Impact Wrestling, there's a rule that you can exchange the X Division title at any time for a shot at the world title. But there was another match that I didn't mention. There was an X Division Ultimate X match where if you climb the ropes over the ring, I'm not going to explain the whole thing, but basically there's an X hanging in the middle of, or over the middle of the ring, and there's ropes tied X squares across the ring. Well, anyway, so there's ropes across the ring, high above the ring, in the form of an X. In the middle of the ropes is a letter X hanging. So if you can get to the middle of the ring by the ropes and take off the letter X, you now have a shot at the X Division Championship anywhere, anytime you want. That match was won by Kushida, who came out after Lio Rush and said, you can't invoke Option C until you give me my title shot. So you kind of follow what's going on. So now, here comes Bully Ray. And we don't know what Bully Ray is up to because he's coming down slowly, not saying anything. And all of a sudden, from behind, Moose and Brian Myers attack Alex Shelley, Kushida, and Josh Alexander. Bully Ray, of course, joins. And so they're getting the drop on the three good guys. And Bully Ray, Moose, and Myers want Lio Rush to kind of join in and hit Alex Shelley with the belt. But Lio Rush says, nah, I'm good. I'm not having it. And he just kind of bounces. So is he good, bad? We don't know. Finally, Friday. Okay, Rampage kind of starting to pick it up a bit. They're kind of getting ready for All Out season in September. Basically, Darby Allin won the Royal Rampage to open up the show. Like I said, the main events and what you need to mostly know about the show are mostly at the beginning of the show. But on Rampage, it works differently. The main event is normally the first match. That's when the major stuff happens. So Darby Allin, again, like I said, won Royal Rampage, which was basically it was just a lazy way of not having to take apart the two rings from Blood and Guts. So basically, it's kind of like their version of the Royal Rumble. Darby Allin won that, and he gets a shot at the TNT title at All Out on September 3rd. And that's going to be, if Christian Cage and Luchasaurus can hold on to it, it will be Darby Allin versus either Christian Cage and or Luchasaurus. And then SmackDown. Okay, so Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso were supposed to sit down and talk about the rules of engagement if they were going to have a match at SummerSlam. And Roman Reigns thought, once again, he was in the driver's seat. He wasn't on trial. He was like, oh, you want to have a match against me? This ain't my first go-round, boy. Little Jimmy? Or little Jay? And then Jay kind of drops a bomb on Roman. He says, Roman, this ain't going to be no match. We don't need to sign a contract. This is going to be tribal combat where anything goes. And apparently that's a thing because Roman Reigns knew by the look on his face exactly what Jay was talking about. So Jay said, I could use any weapon in here. I could slam you through this table. I could pick up a steel chair. I could light you up with a kendo stick. Anything I want to do. It's anything goes. And so Roman Reigns knowingly put down the belt, took off the tribal chief necklace, put it over the belt, like that's up for the win too. That's going to be defended. So it looks like not only is the Universal WWE Heavyweight Championship undisputed going to be defended, the head of the table, that seat, the tribal chief seat, is going to be defended with it. And so they both know, hey, and they went to shake hands. Solo was kind of looking antsy. So he tried to, do a smooth move on Jay and tried to thumb spike him, and Roman Reigns stopped Solo from spiking Jay. And then Jay turns around and super kicks Solo's head off. And Roman Reigns kind of acknowledged Jay, gave him a little bit of acknowledgement of respect. So that's something to see. But right now, we need to see who's. So, it's hard this week. It's real hard. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give it to actually NXT and Monday Night Raw because of the Judgment Day just taking over. They've actually been on kind of all three shows now. They've been on Raw, NXT, and SmackDown. But really, I guess by default, it's NXT tied with Monday Night Raw because Dominic is the new North American champion. So congratulations, Dom. And when we come back, we're going to have Mott Sports West. I'm going to share with y'all what I'm watching and tell you where I've been traveling and eating. All right? Peace.
What up, y'all? This is Mott to the Mott's West Podcast. If you want to advertise here on the Mott's West Podcast or run a promo, become a sponsor, have a question, comment, or just want to hit me up, you can find me on Twitter at Motts_West. That's MATTS_West. On Instagram at Mott's West Podcast or Mott's West Podcast at gmail.com.
Our coaching did a horrible job. The players did a horrible job. We got our ass kicked.
That's the great thing about sports. You play to win.
Hey, yo, it's time for Mott's West Sports, y'all. Let's get right into it. You know how we do. We cover the Rams, Lakers, and Dodgers, giving you the latest updates on what's going on with them. So let's start out with the Rams. There's a little bit of news and rumblings. It looks like the Rams are trying to put out a couple of small dumpster fires between them and Matt Stafford. Last week, it was reported that they asked Matt Stafford to redo his contract that had already been done for about $69 million, and Matthew Stafford basically declined, and it suggested that there may be kind of friction between the two. So this past week, the Rams were trying to basically douse those fires, saying there's no issues between the Rams organization and Matt Stafford. So, but Melvin Gordon has an issue with Sean McVay, saying that he is responsible for the decline in the stock market for running backs. Basically saying after Todd Gurley was released in 2019, and then the Rams going on to not ever paying a running back or a high-profile elite running back and just going with cheaper, younger running backs, basically killed it for the likes of Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, and Josh Jacobs, who didn't get to re-sign with their former teams. So, to me, I don't think Sean McVay, of course he didn't intend to do that, And it's not his fault that everybody's kind of following suit in what he did. He's just being smart. He paid Todd Gurley, that $40 million, and then after the second year, which is the normal lifespan of a running back, he kind of just decided to see. Sean McVay thinks differently. He plays three-dimensional chess. He plays three-dimensional chess while everybody else is playing checkers. Never forget, he's the one that also started the not playing any starting players during preseason games. Usually, the starters will play maybe a snap or two on the first game, maybe a 4-down series the second game, and then the third game they'll play like a half. Sean McVay sits everybody. You're at home in street clothes until the first game of the season when it really matters. So if you want to blame Sean McVay for something, blame him for that. All right. So moving on to the Lakers. LeBron recently announced that he is going back to number 23 in honor of the late Bill Russell. Basically, this was reported by Clutch Points website. Rich Paul, his agent, had an interview with Dave McMenamin, and he said he feels that it's necessary for him to pay tribute to Bill. So, also coming up on August 3rd, the Lakers have a chance or have an option to extend Anthony Davis's contract for another 3 years, making it a total of him having a 5-year contract with the Lakers. But this will be a real telltale sign because this will show if the Lakers are going to rely on Anthony Davis, as he has kind of been unreliable. He only came on kind of like the end of this past season to be the player that everybody thinks he's supposed to be. So,
Our coaching did a horrible job. The players did a horrible job. We got our ass.
That's what's going on with the Lakers, and it's going to be a telltale sign of whether or not the Lakers are going to try and move forward off of Anthony Davis and LeBron, or whether they're going to try and ride it out and see what they can do. Dodgers. Dodgers are right now, for the most part, just on Ohtani watch, as we all are, to see what the Angels are going to do with Shohei Ohtani. Are they going to trade him before the trade deadline, which is coming up soon? It's August 1st. Or are they going to just let him go to free agency? All of the big pens in sports writing say that if the Angels are going to trade Ohtani, it's going to be to anyone but the Dodgers. They're thinking they might even trade them to their rivals, the Giants, just to spite it because of their owner, Artie Moreno, would do something like that. But on the flip side, the Angels have kind of hit a hot streak, and they think that if they could show Ohtani that the Angels could be a winning team and competing for a World Series title, that Ohtani may stay. So they may be in that boat too, and just they don't want to be the team that says, we traded Ohtani. They want to say, well, we made him an offer. We tried to go win the World Series. We were competing. It was his decision to leave so that they kind of look better. As far as play, the Dodgers yesterday, they beat the Rangers 11-5. They have another 2 games with them starting today. At 1:05 they play. With a 56 win and 40 loss record, that puts the Dodgers in first place in the NL West. So go Dodgers, they're still rolling. Go Blue. So that's Smart Sports West. Now let's check out, what are we watching? All right. So I don't know about what's going on now. I need some recommendations really, because I'm still watching Secret Invasion, and it's good, but it only comes out weekly. Last week I told you about Black Mirror. I haven't watched another episode because I'm not amped up. So it was recommended to me to check out Star Trek Strange New Worlds by a fellow Trekkie that I ran into. And we were kind of discussing, so here's how it came about. I was in the store, I heard this guy's ringtone, and it was like a Starfleet, Star Trek ringtone. And I said, oh, you're a Trek? He said, yeah. So we got into a conversation, and he recommended that I watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Now, if you know about the old school series with Captain Kirk, there was an episode where a former captain, let me go back. There was an episode where Spock actually hijacks the Enterprise in order to take this old captain who's been kept in this breathing tank where only his head and shoulders stick out, basically he's paralyzed and paraplegic for the remainder of however long he's going to live. And Spock felt sorry for him because Spock used to serve under him and basically took the Enterprise to go take him to a planet where he can kind of just be in a, I guess, drugged out, trippy sort of state the whole time he's there, and he won't even, in his mind, he'll be in a continuous dream that he's not paralyzed, he's still young, and he'll be actually, in his mind, alive and well till he passes on. And he took him there to live his last days, to where he could be under that hallucinogen alien spell or whatever. So Star Trek Strange New Worlds is based on that captain's time up until the moment where he got paralyzed. So I started watching it. It was okay. I really should just kind of pay attention. I was distracted by a lot of stuff, so couldn't really get into it. I might give it another try. So if you got anything or know anything about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, let me know. It obviously was good enough to make it to 2 seasons, because there's 2 seasons of it, so I'm barely starting season 1. Speaking of seasoning, last weekend, I was traveling and I was traveling through Vegas and decided to stop into the food hall or food court of the New York hotel. So does that mean I went to 2 places? Does that mean I went to Vegas and New York? So anyway, I got some wings from this place called Wing Zone. Now, it's right there in the Vegas Hall, the food court by the Hershey's candy and all that stuff. As far as I didn't put any pictures or didn't take any pictures. It wasn't really anything to write home about because their spiciest level wasn't spicy enough for me, and they didn't have anything off the menu or spicier, so it was just probably habanero wings that they gave me was their hottest level. But what I can say is this: their service is fast. So you go up and order. They give you the little buzzers, the little pagers that they give you like at Outback Steakhouse or something like that, or what is it, TGI Fridays or something like that. So they give you those little black plastic pagers that let you know when your order's ready. So my order was ready like within 5 minutes. So their service is really quick. So if you're looking for quick wings but not that hot, you can give Wing Zone inside the food hall of the New York. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make wings, how easy it is to make wings like Wingstop, like Buffalo Wild Wings, like Wing Zone inside of New York. So you can actually make wings for yourself as good as the Anchor Bar in Buffalo, New York, if not better. So that's what I'm going to do for you with this whole travel section. I figured since I'm doing everything with the visuals, I could actually start cooking and showing you guys dishes from around the world, because I cook Italian, Chinese, Middle Eastern, Jamaican, Korean, and also New Orleans food, Cajun Creole food, so I can show you how to do that, and it's really, really easy. It's easier than you think. So that's what I'll be doing going forward in the future with this whole travel thing. So going forward in the future, I hope you check that out. The wings episode, or the how to cook the wings, is actually going to be up this week on the Mott's West vlog, and there's some new episodes coming on that. So if you want to learn how to make wings, how easy it is, go check out the Mott's West vlog, or stay tuned for it coming up sometime this week. And I'll see y'all next Saturday on the Mott's West podcast. Peace.